Many people in the world today view Islam and imagine that Islam is a religion that advocates violence, terrorism. Many people imagine that Islam is a religion that denies basic human rights. Many people in the world today have a very negative image of Islam. And the fact is that this negative image is not greatly helped by the behavior of Muslims, which very often is not in accordance with the teachings of Islam. However, every reasonable person would realize that a religion should not be judged by the people or some people who profess to be its followers. A religion should be judged by its teachings. A religion should be judged according to the actions and the teachings of its founder. If some people who profess to be the followers of that religion, after many years and after a later time, have changed and corrupted and diverted themselves away from the true teachings of that religion, it is not fair to say, therefore that religion is bad, therefore that religion is wrong. No reasonable, sensible, or rational person would judge Christianity based upon the actions of the IRA or the conquistadors or the Spanish Inquisition or Adolf Hitler or any other person or any other group of people who claim directly or indirectly to belong to the Christian faith. Rather, if you wanted to judge Christianity, you would go back and you would see what are the teachings of its founder, what did the founding fathers of that religion say, and what did they teach. And then you would have to criticize the religion if you wanted to based upon that. This is the sensible, rational approach. Sometimes when I hear people talking about Islam on the news and in the media, when they accuse Islam of being a religion that advocates terrorism and teaches violence, and we have many images of Muslims, and in fact sometimes interviews with Muslims, sometimes they are people who do not even have knowledge of the religion. And I think to myself, and I even say this, that I don't recognize this religion which they are portraying as being Islam. It doesn't seem to me that this is the same religion that I am following. It seems to me as if they're talking about something quite different. You would imagine that the basic teachings of Islam were about killing and murdering and so on and so on and so forth. But what are the basic teachings of Islam? What are they? One might imagine that Islam was a religion of fanatics and fanaticism, that it was not based in any way or had no connection with reason, rationality. And I think this is a view that sometimes is purposely portrayed by the media. But what are the basic teachings of Islam? What are the basic fundamental teachings of this religion? Let us examine them and let us see what Islam really teaches, what Islam really says. The first and the most important teaching in Islam is its teaching about God. What does Islam teach about God? The Quran tells us and tells the human beings to observe, to look at the world around you, to look at the universe around you, to look within yourselves. And in these things you will find signs, clear signs for people who reflect, for people who have wisdom, and for people who understand. In the alternation of the night and the day, in the ships which sail on the ocean, carried by the winds, in the rain that falls, in the crops and the different fruits and the different foods which we eat, in these things and other things, there are signs for those who are wise, for those who understand, for those who reflect. Signs of what? They are signs to show that there is a creator, there is a Lord, there is a sustainer. That these things could not have come into existence by themselves, because we don't find in the human experience something just coming from nothing. We don't find things just coming from nothing. We don't find order spontaneously arising out of chaos. Rather, our human experience tells us that when we see something ordered, working according to laws, working according to patterns, working in a system, then our human experience tells us again and again and again that someone or something has ordered it and systemized it and made it work according to these laws and patterns. This is why an archaeologist can go into the desert, and this archaeologist could find a small piece of pottery. A small piece of pottery. But from this small piece of pottery, the archaeologist will tell us so many things. He will be able to tell us the state of technological ability of the society and the people who made that pottery. Why? Because he will say, in order to be able to make the clay and to bake the clay, they must have been able to build ovens. And in order for the ovens to reach sufficient temperature for that clay to be baked, they must have been able to have this level of technological ability. And then he may say, and this clay, we don't find it in this area. In fact, this clay only comes from a such and such place, so many hundreds of miles. So we know they must have some system of transportation. And then maybe the person could look at the artwork or the writing, and then more things they could tell us about those people who built this piece of pottery, who made this clay and shaped it and fashioned it. So for this archaeologist, the existence of this piece of pottery is a conclusive proof of the existence of the people who made it. He doesn't need to see them. He doesn't need to see their town. He doesn't need to see their ovens. He doesn't need to see any of those things. The piece of pottery proves to him the existence of these people and also proves to him the state of their knowledge and intelligence. That's why we look at things today. Pieces of incredible technologically complex machinery. And that makes us understand something about the level of scientific knowledge and achievement of the society that has made them. And then, if these things also not only are functional, but they are also beautiful, that they are aesthetically pleasing, then we have a higher state of appreciation of that society. Because not only do they have technological ability, they have qualities that appreciate beauty and art and so on and so on and so forth. To us, all of this is a proof of the existence of the people who made it, of their knowledge and their intelligence. Why? Because we don't find something coming from nothing. None of us would believe that this glass spontaneously came into existence through processes of chance and coincidence. Even if we believed that, for example, we claimed that this glass was found in a volcanic area where there was a volcano surrounded by sand, and the volcanic explosion heated up the sand, and a piece of glass which was formed from the sand flew up into the air, and it came down and it landed, and then the rain fell, and then the waves washed it until eventually we had this glass formed here. Even no one will believe that. It's not possible. Did anyone see a glass perfectly formed by process of coincidences, or a motor car, or a bicycle, or even an ink pen, or a handkerchief? No. Rather, when we see things ordered, we know that someone or something has ordered them. So then the Quran tells us, the Quran tells the human being, look at the world around you, and you will see everywhere order. You will see things working according to precise mechanisms. And the degree and the sophistication of that ordering is illustrative of the wisdom and the knowledge and the power of the one who made it. If we look to the universe with its galaxies, its stars, its solar systems, how stars come into existence, how galaxies are formed, how the universe itself was created. If we look at our earth, if we look at the alternation of the night and the day, that we have a day which goes through a period of 24 hours. 24 hours. Imagine, for example, imagine that a day, instead of being a day and a night, instead of being 24 hours, was 30 years. Imagine the earth spun so slowly on its axis that it didn't take 24 hours to go round, that it in fact took 30 years to go round. Or 40 years, or even 100 years. So the earth is moving very, very slowly. What would happen? The sun would be constantly beating down for 15 years on one part of the earth's surface, and it would become superheated. Another part would become super cooled because it would not be exposed to the sun. Therefore, you would probably, almost definitely, life could not exist. The composition of the gases in our atmosphere, oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon dioxide. If there was not oxygen, life could not exist. If it was pure oxygen, still life could not exist, because pure oxygen is poisonous. We need carbon dioxide. We also need nitrogen. We need the other gases. There is a perfect balance of gases. There happens to be a gas, ozone. Very important gas. We're all learning about it now, especially in Australia. They tell us about skin cancer. And the ozone layer is being depleted. The ozone has an extremely important role. It filters out the harmful effects of the sun's radiation. If there was no ozone layer, what would happen? We would be bombarded with harmful radiation. Life would not exist. Imagine if the earth was much closer to the sun or much further from the sun. Again, too hot, too cold. In fact, what we find that our planet is a perfectly balanced mechanism. More intricate and more delicate than the most sophisticated mechanical watches. If we look at the human brain, the eyes, the ears, the lungs, the heart, the kidneys, each of these things are incredibly complex machines. If we go deeper and look on the microbiological level, we find that even the cell, which is the most basic building block of life, is incredibly complex. It has been compared to a mega city, a huge city. A huge city. In fact, if you were to compare the cell to a city that human beings built, the cell would actually be more complex and more sophisticated. This cell has incredibly complex mechanisms that allow nutrients in and that allow waste products out, but does not allow harmful products in, and that keeps the beneficial products out. It has the means of reproducing itself. It has factories that produce certain substances because each cell has a special task. And within the cell is a factory that produces these substances, breaking down chemicals and reconstructing them. This is a cell. The simplest building block of life is incredibly complex. What is there in the whole totality of human experience to allow us to believe that such a thing could be a product of random events? The fact is that asking us to believe that is not reasonable. It is irrational. It does not fit with human experience. It is not reasonable. It is not rational. Rather, it is rational and reasonable to believe that there is an intelligence, a power behind all of this. So it could not have created itself. This universe could not have brought itself into existence, nor did it create itself. The universe is not its own creator, because we cannot attribute to the universe and the things of the universe the power to create. It is only a collection of what? Stars and galaxies. And stars and galaxies do not have the ability to bring things into existence and to organize. So it couldn't have created itself, nor could we be the creators of it, because we ourselves are in need of a creator. And these are the rational arguments you will find in the Quran. The Quran is the essential book that is the foundation of the religion of Islam. So in the Quran you find these beautiful rational arguments. Observe, look, think, contemplate. In these things you will find signs, evidences for those people who reflect, for those people who are wise, for those people who understand. And if you think and you reflect, then you will realize that, yes, this universe, it did not create itself, and it did not come from nothing, so it must have a creator. There must be one that has brought this universe into existence. And the creator of this universe cannot be of the same nature as the universe. The creator of the universe must be different. Because if the creator of the universe was of the same nature as the universe, then it would also need a creator. And then that creator would also need a creator, and you will have creators creating creators ad infinitum. In fact, you would never get anything created. It is not reasonably possible. So the creator must be different. So as the universe is temporary, the creator is eternal. As the universe is needy, it means it needs a creator. It needs one to bring it into existence and to make the laws through which and by which it exists. Then the creator must be self-sufficient, without any needs. And you could only have one such eternal self-sufficient creator. You could not have two eternal self-sufficient creators. Therefore, what the Quran teaches, and this is what you will find the Quran teaches, fundamentally about God, that there is one God who is eternal, who is self-sufficient, who has brought this universe into existence, who has created it and who sustains it and who maintains it. That this universe is not God, and God is not part of this universe. God is the creator of it. Nor does God become something inside this universe, because that would contradict reason. That is an unreasonable and an irrational claim that could never ever be proven. If anyone says God became a man, that is a claim that you can never prove. You can claim it, you can say I believe it, but you can never prove it, because by definition, the belief that God became a man is something that contradicts reason. Because man is temporary, man is needy, man breathes, man eats, man is born, and man dies. But God is eternal. God does not need to eat, God does not need to drink, God does not breathe, because God is self-sufficient. God does not have a beginning, and God does not have an end. So to say something is eternal and temporary, both at the same time, that something is infinite and finite, both at the same time, that something is immortal and mortal, that is self-sufficient and needy, it's an impossibility. You are asking, or the person is claiming, that two completely opposite, contradictory things exist at the same time. And if you claim that, then on what basis can you ask people to even believe in God in the first place? If you claim that, then what is your argument, and what basis can you say to people, believe in God? Because if you say believe in God because it's rational, then you demand that they believe in something irrational, then they will then question the very belief in God in the first place. So it's not something that can ever be proven. It is only something that can be claimed. And so therefore the first beauty and the first wonderful thing about Islam is exactly this. What Islam teaches about God. It is a belief that is so pure, it is so free from irrational beliefs,